Shepparton is Abraham here, joined here by Game Green.
Good morning. Nice and clinical.
Very nice hole to start off with, although there might be a call. We can see the players stopping and a bit of a chat on the sideline. Game advisor Ben Sutar standing there ready in case his perspective is consulted.
Amos and Harvey involved in the call. Now this is where hand signals would be coming in handy, but it seems to be from the outside that maybe there was some contact on the throw. We'll try to get an outcome for you as soon as we can and get a bit more idea. Uncontested foul.
And hand signals that a goal has been scored, so a nice clean hold for Kronk to start off with.
Edie.
Great way for Kronk to start out. They had a nice horror set and got the flow going pretty quickly. In the end, space out the back with that horror set, really used that space well with that big shot after the power position up line.
100%. And I mean, those big throws, we can expect to see probably a couple more of them today, given that we've got a nice balmy 16 degrees where you can push the body a bit more in terms of core body temperature, and then also there's not much wind. So all of those throws that you can throw are going to be really reliably read. They're not going to be picked up by the wind any which way.
Yeah, some nice controlled offense, hoping for some clean looks given, like you said, the conditions are very favourable. But I think in terms of games, defense is the thing that wins games. If you can generate a block and generate a turn, generate an opportunity, that's where that's where the turning points can lie. So
if your O-line doesn't have to run, then all the better for it.
That's right.
Beautiful pull up from Kronk, ending pretty much on that end zone line. Ben Matthews-Hunter underneath it, centres it to Aldridge. Back to Ben Matthews-Hunter. Matthews-Hunter, fat for a hammer. Oh, Gibson underneath it to Fenger. Baxter, back to Matthews-Hunter. Back to Gibson, in a paddock. Paddock in that right corner. Both teams showing that they've got really nice flow and really nice patience when they get the disc in the hands of their handlers, and they're more than happy to wait for the options to become available and for their receivers to do the work downfield.
Absolutely, a nice clean hold for Fishwick Unit X as well. They had a nice set. I think Kronk tried to slow them down with a zone to start off with, but eventually managed to get there with a nice clean hold.
Yang was looking to pull, but passing that Frisbee back to Harvey. Now that first pull that we saw in the very first point was from Tom Harvey, put them pretty close to that end zone line. So both teams showing that they've got capacity to really use the strength in their pullers to get as much space possible to make it difficult for the offense to have to work it up further distance as opposed to a shorter pull. Harvey coming up, bit more of a breeze coming from the top of your screen down towards the bottom of it as that disc comes up, flattens out a bit, still able to get that depth.
Junky look by Fishwick. Successful in the defense.
Aldridge onto the disc, unmarked. He can keep using that space. Donaldson wanting something but not using, not capitalizing. Into the hands of Gillett. Gillett waiting for it. Back to Donaldson. Now covered. Oh. Once again, it seems to be a call.
So very loud communication from the sideline from Fishwick calling for end zone, so looking for a set play here.
Now.
Maybe a travel. There seems to be a fair bit of pointing to the ground.
Yeah, tiny bits. Game advisor Sutaz getting back into it, just on standby in case it's needed.
As we know, Ultimate is a self-refereed sport, so players having to decide on the outcome themselves. They may ask the game advisor or other people for perspective, but ultimately they need to make a decision on the outcome. So still a little bit of chat, and looks like some uncontested hand signals perhaps.
Potentially retracted.
Retracted call. So
retracted calls.
So the
disc stays with Donaldson. Elmer's on the mark.
So
Elmer's the younger, I believe.
The junior Elmer's. So it looks like a pretty standard vertical stack here, but I'm guessing that Fishwick will look to clean it up a little when the play gets going.
Currently 3 handlers out for Fishwick. Jinking a bit in that space. Donaldson's having a bit of patience, putting it up. Yang getting underneath it.
In the end, a very nice score, and that is the first break of the game going to Fishwick.
Starting to try to get a bit of a lead on Kronk now. If they can solidify a lead earlier, it makes their later part of the game easier. It's a bit more difficult sometimes mentally to crawl back from being down in the first couple of points. So we'll see how Kronk responds here. Coming out on offense again.
So in that last point, Fishwick's defense really getting on top there with that junky look. They managed to close out the space in front, just force that high throw to generate the turn. So we'll see if Kronk, and they've signalled a offside call.
An offside happens when one section of a team or one player of a team is in front of the line as the pull comes up. It can be called from both offense and defense. The game advisors are very useful when it comes to being able to call this.
So some recent changes with the rules. With the offside call, now it's an automatic start from the brick mark. Previous editions of the rules, there was a re-pull scenario.
Kron coming out willing to pass it quick and in the small ball game. Looking for options, looking to create space where they can. Getting it to Edie on the sideline, who uses his length to put up a lovely throw, having to read it. That just gets picked up by Asher Gentle from Fishwick, who passes it quickly to Ben Matthews-Hunter. Still keeping it on that sideline though. Hammer over the top, pretty bold with a bit of contact just next door, but that doesn't affect it too much. Centering it as much as they can. Horvat back to Gentle. Horvat on the flick that almost gets picked up by Gibson, but just the wrong hand gets to it and it bounces out.
I think that was almost a little too easy for him. Just thought I'd just casually grab it with the one hand. Sticks at the mitt, ends up bouncing off the palm. So a little bit disappointing there for Fishwick. That was a chance for them to have a second break point. I have to say, early days though, Fishwick are doing really well using that deep space, the space at the back. It looks like that Kronk unable to protect that space as well, which is releasing those longer shots.
The Kronk are doing a good job of shutting down the easy open unders, forcing Fishwick to... We've seen 2 hammers now from Fishwick, I believe. Kronk coming out on offense now. Stuck a bit on that end zone line. Oh, we've got a bit maybe of a cleat to the foot, on top of the foot. That's really uncomfortable. Technical stoppage, redo the shoelaces, make sure we don't get stuck and don't trip over in the middle of the field.
Never nice, those ones getting cleated.
Can't hurt a bit, eh? No notice on the stall count, but Seems to have been picked up.
Everyone just getting back into position, and the disc is in.
Disc is in. Looking for that inside break. Back to AUCDII now. We've seen AUCDII work in that small space a bit. There seems to be a bit of disconnect between the handlers for Kronk and the downfield, just trying to find their timing, but it's early days. Centering it again. Fishwick on a nice tight mark, making it difficult. Back to AUCDII. Putting it up. You've got 2 Kronk underneath it. That gets taken down by Elmers.
A beautiful score. So Kronk showing that they can use a deep space as well. Certainly we had Tim Booth and James Maguire there really solid in that handler space. Once they got some power position continuation, that big shot up to Junior Elmers, who's been lurking there a couple of times. They looked for him in an earlier passage of play in this point. Couldn't get done the first time, but absolutely smashed it the second time around.
Definitely. Now we are saying Junior Elmers because there are in fact a father and son duo on Kronk today. Father and son.
I believe Grant might be appearing tomorrow, but certainly sent the younger one who is showing off his wares today. So a nice hold
Nichols out with the pull today.
Nice pull, nice point by Kronk, and you can hear the sideline get up, trying to get their D-line going to try and get this break back.
Putting up a roller in order to try get a bit more depth, make it a bit more difficult. Fishwick responding to Donaldson. Donaldson looking for Jordan. Not finding, but finds Harry Wang instead. Back to Donaldson. Moving it. Aldridge putting it up out in front, leading past to Donaldson, who grabs it down. Looks to continue.
Oh, what
Gets a hand to it though.
What a layout D there.
From Lachlan Jones, I believe. Putting in a shift at work today.
So the D-line delivering what the sideline were asking for, playing really stifling D. They pushed Fishwick backwards, really stopped their flow, made them have to, throw on a higher stall count, which eventually generated that block and a fantastic bid there by Lachlan Jones. So Horror set now for Kronk. Wonder if they're going to use the space up the back.
One of the Fishwick players peeling off early. Tried to dissuade them from using that space, but leaves a player open. Sheetha poached. Sheetha looking for options, trying to find an option. Maybe a bit of panic behind the disc, but able to get it back to a handler. Losing a couple meters, making it a bit more difficult for them to be able to use the full length of the field, but nice little jink in the handler space gets them a bit more time. Up goes the disc. Just fading out.
There we go, Fishwick!
And Fishwick, their own line, also getting big on D, earning the opportunity back here for a dirty hold.
Now the benefit was that they were able to get quite a bit of distance on that throw. It didn't go out straight away, so they were able to keep a bit more defensive space before their defending end zone, meaning Fishwick has to work out a bit. But it looks like Fishwick might be setting a bit of a deep stack/handler diag set. Donaldson looking for an option. Kronk making it difficult for them.
Yeah, nice poach in the space by Kronk to force that dump swing behind.
Yeah, Wang looking for it. Back to Donaldson. Aldridge. Back to Donaldson. Getting a couple meters there. Getting right in the end zone. Fishwick calling for the end zone. Handler in a paddock of space.
Another big call for end zone play here. Can they settle?
Donaldson to Aldridge. Can Aldridge get a hand to it? And he's got it. Bit of a reach. But as long as you get a hand to it and it's solidly in the hand and doesn't bounce out, then it's all fun and games.
So Fishwick now up early with 2 breaks already. It's going to be Big question that Kronk are going to have to answer. The D-line did well to generate a possession, but just got pinned down in that deep defending end zone. Really couldn't make any meters.
That's okay. I need to remember it. 75.
Yo. So apologies, that was a hold by Fishwick. Getting a little confused with the multiple turnovers at the moment. After starting out with some clean offense, we've had a couple of points with some turns, so just trying to settle things for both teams. At the moment, Fishwick just up the one break 3-2 over Kronk.
Gillette coming up with the pull from a more central position. Pull stays a bit flatter. Gets taken a bit further up from the end zone. Kronk using that time. Moving their way up. A big throw comes up. Coming down into Elmer's the younger. Looking for space. It's just them in the paddock. Celebrating a nice, easy, clean hold.
Again, looking for Elmer's in the deep space again. He seems to be the receiver that they are targeting and focusing in on. And he's nice and calm with the disc to slot. A nice goal there.
That was Cross who was able to be in a paddock. Little celebration we saw at the end there. Kronk not taking their foot off the pedal after being down a couple breaks. Looking.
Hey boys, we're in on now.
Disc comes up, roller pull. I'm seeing a favourite patterning here, but it makes it difficult. Matthews Hunter having to chase it a bit.
Inside.
Moving up the sideline. Looking for an option. Jordan looking for Matthews Hunter. Matthews Hunter looking back for Jordan, getting it to Horvat instead, who gets a nice under. Kronk nice and tight on the D there. Gibson's able to secure it after a little fumble. Horvat taking it high as he gets it back down that right-hand sideline. Keep it on that right-hand sideline as he gets it. Seb Jordan.
Fantastic goal by Fishwick. Kronk actually did very well to force them to that far sideline, so it was a forced side. They had to squeeze it up a very narrow channel, but ultimately that kind of upline cut from the behind space by the handlers, that was the thing which kept driving them through and completing that point really well. So another hold and a clean one this time. So after a couple of points with a few turnovers either way, we have another clean hold from Fishwick to go up 4-3.
In the next coming points, what would you expect Kronk to be focusing on as they're coming out trying to get the upper hand in this relatively tight game?
I wouldn't be surprised if they look for Elmer's again in that deep space. He's been really paying dividends with that target, just getting so free and so much separation. So it'd be interesting if Fishwick try to put maybe a tougher assignment or tougher matchup on him to try and stop him getting those, getting into that space. But to be honest, I think Kronk just need to focus on getting a nice O and hopefully a clean one. That way they put the pressure straight back onto Fishwick and their D-line can come out firing. D-line have already showed that they can generate a block, right? They can generate a block to get possession. So the next part is just converting it. First of all, Chili O, I think.
Coming down, moving it quickly through their handlers. Seeing that reliable horizontal type stack play. Trying to get more handlers behind the disc as the disc comes up. Oh. Now that looked like Gentle was able to get a hand to it just to try to deviate the path of the disc a bit more, making it harder for Jesse Cross to be able to actually get it into his hands. As much as we've seen him as a super reliable receiver in this game already, maybe that pressure from Gentle was just a bit too much. It means Cross is probably going to have to reevaluate and look at lifting a tiny bit more, making it a bit more athletic and competitive in the game, but they're both doing brilliantly so far.
So with Kronk, they've got, obviously, they're trying to isolate that deep space for just the one receiver. So this time it's Cross, previous times it's been Elmer's. Unfortunately, Gentle just managed to get a hand in there, but looking to really make use of that deep space.
Donaldson puts it up. He's in a panic of space.
And that is a score.
Blackmore coming down with the Frisbee.
And both teams making fantastic use of the deep space. Once they're in power position, their cutters are already going and timing those cuts to perfection so that they can just get that quick pass off before the stall count and the mark even sets.
And it looked like in the end of that point, it just seemed like Kronk was just not able to keep up pace or get their brain switched from offense to defense quickly enough to be able to keep up with Fishwick, who then capitalized on the quick turn to be able to put it in.
And that is Fishwick's second break. So way to go, Fishwick, in terms of once they earn their possession, they convert it pretty quickly.
I believe so.
Harry, join me. I get lonely. Let's go, Kron!
Matthews Hunter coming out with a disc. Now, as a local Canberran, Matthews Hunter has a special place in my heart because he was my first coach and he does a lot of developmental coaching. So I wouldn't be shocked if he has coached a couple of the lads on the current line through their junior years as they're coming into being able to represent Div 2, and it's awesome to be able to see him play them there. Kron coming out with the disc, looking for a movement. Getting a bit of movement, looking like there's maybe a bit more of a zone play or a poachy deep defense play from Yang, but tightening up on his player now. Almost on the turnover. Fishwick capitalizing on that quick turn that we've seen before. Matthews Hunter fumbles it. Turnover again. Tim Booth looking for an option. He's a reliable handler. Moving it through the middle to Arman. Moving it around the field, both to the right and left side sidelines.
All the players are all cramped very close to the disc at the moment.
Making it difficult for the handlers, but Booth able to get it down. Looking for the option, really being a solid foundation for this line. Edie on the sideline now, hammers over the top, trusting his receivers, but just a bit too much spice to it. But there seems to be a call. An uncontested foul on the thrower. This will come to Edie. Waylon getting a bit enthusiastic on the mark, maybe. Now, there will be a benefit because Edie will have the full 10 seconds again. It'll reset a bit more time.
Yeah, I think
Edie calling for a bit of order on the field.
I think Kronk have done well to reposition themselves. They've got a little bit more space to work with. Before they were just so cramped and pinned to that side. Too many bodies, that was always going to be difficult to get at.
Edie being patient, engaging his dump. Trusting his handler to get out in front on the side and knocking on the door. Just in they get. Maguire giving it to... We'll grab that name for the receiver in a second. That was James Maguire to Matthew Niska.
So well done to Kronk. That wasn't an easy hold, but they did manage to get there in the end. So at the moment, Fishwick just looking a bit slicker than Kronk on offense. They've just got the timing of their continuation cuts down to a T, whereas Kronk just getting a little bit stuck in that back space. Handlers having to hold on to disc a fair amount.
I agree. And there's a bit more wind picking up now. Now, Kronk, now correct me if I'm wrong, but originating from Wollongong, known for being a bit more of a windy city. That wind might actually play into their favour a bit more. Hopefully, if it picks up a bit more for them, they'll challenge Canberra a bit more. To Jalil. Jalil on the sideline. Moving it to the other sideline into the hands of Donaldson. Moving it back to Jalil. Getting almost every second pass. To Gentle. Gentle back to Donaldson. Donaldson putting it up into the hands of Gibson. Now this is almost a deja vu, but this time we've got two hands to the disc. Gibson in a paddock of space.
Absolutely. So again, Fishwick just using that deeper space so well. No defender in sight. I believe that was Donaldson with that crossfield shot to Gibson. Made it look way too easy. So Kronk are going to have to do something on defense to try to stop that deeper look, because especially when it's getting to that end zone, they're just not communicating well enough to cover those spaces and coordinate that together on D.
I agree, and I think that Fishwick is doing a good job of showcasing that they're more than happy to move it up one single sideline if that is all that they are allowed to do, but they are also very happy to swing it and use the full width of the space, the full width of the field in order to be able to capitalise on options that have been put up.
Yeah, the benefit of swinging is that you're changing the angle of attack and you're making the defenders have to constantly readjust. And I suspect that was probably why some of those defenders from Kronk got caught out, is that once those angles changed, they didn't adjust their defensive position for it. So very smart move. You know, you take what you're given, but also in the end, you just be patient to look for those holes in those free players.
Especially throwing from that higher side. Like the wind is not too strong, but the wind is coming from the top side of your screen down, which means if we throw from that top side of the screen, we've got a bit more space for it to move. There is an offside, but it's not called from Fishwick. Fishwick on the mark, happy to just put pressure down straight on. Working hard, open under by Elma the Younger. To Booth. Still centering it, keeping it nice and center, keeping an open option. Kronk doing a wonderful job of using the open unders available into a inside cross, puts it up.
A beautiful score there, an inside flick forehand, about a third of the field as well to boot. Tim Booth in a paddock of space in that break side, managing to pull that one down.
Eadie. Now Gabe Eadie, one of our under-24s Blue Bottles players, showcasing his prowess not only as a cutter but also his ability to handle and keep a nice level head as he plays. He's been a bit of an anchor for the receiving section of Kronk this game so far, and it's awesome to see him be able to do that not only here, but then we'll be able to watch him later on in the year back in June in Logroño when he goes off and plays at Worlds then.
Yeah, Wollongong not short of Australian reps. They had Kobe Ryan and of course Johnny Keys playing in the Open Age Division in Gold Coast last year. So although not a huge place, they've certainly produced some quality ultimate players.
Maybe it's the wind. Makes them better throwers.
And of course, Kronk is Wollongong's second team, so they've also got their A-team Crank, who are seeded, I believe, first for this tournament, and then Kronk being the second team. So interesting that, you know, Kronk and Crank, they've been going for the AB split, whereas Fishwick have gone for the XY, so slightly different strategies from the two clubs.
Roller pull, trying to trap Fishwick on that sideline. And it's worked so far. Reset up the line to Matthews Hunter, but Matthews Hunter happy to throw it forwards and around. Moving it up the field of that high side to Jalil. Jalil to Donaldson. Donaldson to Gentle. Jordan looking for a pass. Matthews Hunter in a paddock just throws it in. Now that was a very smart play, because as Matthews Hunter was cutting up the line, his defender also clocked onto Seb Jordan, who did a little fake into the space, which left Matthews Hunter free in a little bit of space to grabbed the disc down with not much competition.
Yeah, basically Seb Jordan did the team thing, right? He cut hard. Even though he didn't get the disc, he dragged those defenders out of the space to allow Matthews Hunter to score. And I have to say, Kronk, even though they were scored on in that passage of play, their defense actually forced a high stall throw. So they did really well to clog up the open side and limit those initial looks. So I think even though they didn't get the turn, Kronk defense should be really happy with that play there.
Now, that was a score to half, I believe, 7-5 with Fishwick unit.
Yeah, so it is half at 7. So we have finished the half. Fishwick Unit X. They are 2 breaks up. 7-5. We'll be back with you after half. And we are back after half in this pool play opens match on day 1 of the Australian Ultimate Division 2 Championships. Fishwick unit going up 2 breaks to bring it to 7-5. Kronk now going up with a nice roller pool.
Up it comes. Fishwick coming out on offense. Kronk putting a zone defense on, trying to make it difficult to throw, but Matthews Hunter going over the top of it. There's not much wind, so fair enough. Resets. Looking for options.
Oh, fantastic layout grab to secure that one. But there might be some kind of call or stoppage here. Perhaps a foul of some sort.
It looks like it might have been more of a pick. Mo Baxter, as he laid out, got a bit in the way of the legs.
Gibson, a fantastic layout there. Can he conserve the greatness?
Looking for Matthews Hunter. Matthews Hunter looking further down the field, being told to hold it from the sideline. Seb Jordan picks it up, passes it to Horvat. Horvat looking further for that reset, engaging Matthews Hunter, who gets a lovely cut up the line, toes it in. It's on that right-hand corner of the end zone.
And there we have it, another very quick and clean offensive point for Fishwick to start the half. Because of the mirror half, we see the replay here. So Fishwick doing really well to drive their offense. They look upfield, no options. They drive from that backfield. So Matthews Hunter with that beautiful strike-up line looks to the disc, makes sure it's secure in his hands for that score. So I think Fishwick are doing that much better than Kronk at the moment. When Kronk get a little bit stuck with no upfield options, the handler set is kind of static. They're not really moving and generating movement from the backspace. So I'd like to see them try and use that to advantage. If they're taking away all that downfield stuff, why not try and use the backfield to use some movement, maybe some small ball, maybe a handler weave. Their offense is just getting a little bit stuck at the moment.
Definitely, and on their end zone defense, Kronk, it would be nice to see them trying to help their their defensive handler defense players, as Fishwick's offensive handler players are looking for those off the line cuts. If someone in the stack could step off, as long as they've got their player under control, step off, make that option look a bit less attractive.
Yeah, potentially like a little bit of a poach in the open lane to try and limit that upline, especially those longer upline cuts, when they're gaining meters.
A controlled poach.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to time those ones.
Wang puts up a pull, gives it a bit of float, gives Fishwick time to get down there. Moving it through the offensive handlers into the hands of good old reliable Tim Booth. Open paddock throw. Keeps moving it down that line to Edie. Edie looking for Elmer the Younger. There's a switch on defense happening down in the end zone. Jesse Cross in a paddock of space, but not looks it off, looking for Tim Booth instead.
Well done to Kronk there for a lovely clean hold. They had fantastic flow, really, just able to get their defenders off balance and therefore get nice open shots, as we see here. Elmer engages his dump. That one doesn't come off, but Booth, aware of the higher stall count situation, just beats his defender to the cone. Defender just a little blindsided face marking there.
Not many players downfield of the player for Kronk, which means their options are a bit more limited, but they're doing a brilliant job of still using them because they're capitalizing on the movement of their players and they're flowing nicely together in that end zone with fewer players around the disc. So maybe that is an option.
So 2 clean holds here to start the second half of this game. I'd love to see a couple more clean holds, particularly from Kronk, just to try and get themselves up and going a little bit. Then they can really put some solid efforts in on D to try to earn these breaks back.
And the messages from Kronk to their team at the beginning of the game was that they wanted to focus on the 1%ers and they wanted to really communicate with each other on field. So we're starting to see that lift now as that pull comes up. Gentle to Jordan. Jordan looking for an option downfield, but Fishwick's not quite connecting this point yet.
Yeah, just
Gentle to Jordan.
Handlers. Standard vert stack, but Kronk defense are doing really well to clog up the space, make those options look very unattractive, and there's a call now, foul. It's like accepted foul pretty quickly on Seb Jordan.
coming back in on 0. Gives them a bit more time to find the movement to Nanda Jalil. Right on the sideline, though. Not much space. Looking to centre it where they can. Back to Seb Jordan. Seb Jordan on the sideline. Looking to put it long. Doesn't need to. You've got Joel Blackmore there. Blackmore looking for an option. Jalil just toes it in.
Fantastic work there by Jalil. Body awareness to keep it in, but there's a stoppage and some discussion now.
Bit of discussion. Seb Jordan's player was a bit put off potentially from some contact, but doesn't seem like there was an agree that it affected it. Goal stands.
Very nice goal there by Jalil. I believe the assist from Blackmore. So again, as we see here, Seb Jordan, that upline shot. And here we have Blackmore moves his mark by his wide pivots. And Seb Jordan out in the underspace, but Jalil here just out the back. Oh, that's a tough one to call whether it's in or out, but eventually the agreement from both players is that that is a score. So again, Fishwick using that driving movement from the backfield, so that handler movement and that away shot. And like you said, there's really no win to speak of at the moment. So those away leading shots are actually quite precise and shall we say, easy for players of this calibre. So Fishwick really using that to their advantage at the moment.
Definitely. And I mean, for any of our viewers who are not familiar with the sport of ultimate Frisbee, who may be more familiar with football or soccer, on the line is in fact out in Frisbee, as opposed to in soccer where something's on the line, it's still considered in. So the reason why we couldn't quite make a call on that, but it was agreed upon by players. His foot may or may not have been on the line, but unsure.
So I guess the question is, how do Kronk stop some of the deeper attacks or the away shots from Fishwick? I wonder whether setting up like a bracket play, we talked earlier about maybe having an approach in that lane, that open underspace, but whether they have a bracket, so they've got one defender that's sitting deep and protecting that open deep space, and then one protecting the open under, just to force Fishwick to look at something different. Because right now they're just really getting into momentum and it's too easy.
Definitely. Harvey puts up the pull. Coming down, centering it. Irish with the disc. Irish moves it to that far sideline. Back to Irish. Under to Booth. Moves it to the sideline again. Happy to use the full width of the field here, Kronk is. Elmer's on the sideline. Once again engages his dump. Dump gets quite close, but just a little bit of a fumble as his body gets forced into the forward movement of the disc. Not quite able to keep the control of it. Donaldson picking up the disc. Kronk forcing the sideline. Up to bed, Matthews Hunter. Matthews Hunter putting it over some players. Just able to bring it down. But a turnover. Maybe a couple too many wheat bix this morning. A bit too much strength on it.
I like the space though, that wide, fat side, no defenders in sight. That one was just a little bit long, but very intelligent use of space, as we see here, just out the back.
That was a close read as well from Oliver Elmers, getting up into his space, making it difficult.
So again now, Kronk setting up with a classic horizontal. That seems to be their go-to offensive look. But you can see Fishwick here, they're doing that, they're aware of the space that they want to attack. So you can see there is some poaching in the lane to prevent that forward motion. They leave that handler all alone there because they're not too worried about the disc going backwards. So they're stifling a lot of that forward movement. It's forcing Kronk to have to either look deep in a risky shot where they've got players that are able to compete in the backspace, or just have to swing side to side.
Fishwick also showing that they're able to switch players relatively easily. Happy to communicate on field, find players that are a threat and hand off if they're in a more optimal position.
Yeah, great team defense. And again, just really not moving very much. But now there's a nice inside shot and then a follow through to Cross.
Cross taking his time, looking for Booth. Booth jumps it in.
So well done to Kronk there. They didn't look too good really in their defending end zone. They took a lot of passes to make any ground at all. But in the end, that inside flick here, and then the continuation up. Elmer's to cross, and then the defenders scrambling and here to Booth. So they do make it work in the end once they get it past that kind of front wall, but it's just that initial play, getting it past that front kind of saggy look that Fishwick are putting on.
It's also showing their patience. I think that in the first half they didn't seem to have that same level of patience, whereas now they're showing that they're more than happy to move it slowly, take the time, take the open option, and that is really paying off. Yes, I think that if Kronk could emulate part of what Fishwick is doing in terms of that help defense, switch defense, look to do a team defense where maybe if your player is out of position, you can help your teammate and take them instead. That would probably help them with those defensive looks, especially for those big throws and in those end zone looks. Yeah,
for sure. Fishwick's defensive unit is certainly coordinating that a lot better at the moment, whereas Kronk are being a bit more disciplined on match, which may be to their detriment.
Big pull from Nichols, which gives Kronk plenty of time to get down and put on his own. Going down, locking Fishwick down on this right-hand side. Gentle resetting it. Oh, almost a little finger to it.
I like this look by Kronk. They're really clogging it up, slowing Fishwick down. Plenty of sideline support as well and helping their teammates.
Wang, it's back to Gentle. Over the top to Wang.
Oh, a little push pass.
Little push pass to Gillette. It's getting tighter from Kronk. Backstyle on the disc to Gibson. Gibson on the sideline looking for a reset option, but not quite coming. Comes out with a hammer, which is just doesn't quite connect in the end zone there.
And Kronk, their defense now turning on, forcing high stall counts, forcing this speculative hammer in the end that just is way too fast and hard for Gibson to trap. So Kronk's D-line now with an opportunity, the first one for a while, to generate a break point.
And they've set themselves up with a bit of that space in the horizontal, pushing it to that closer sideline, moving it through the open unders. Still pretty central, close to the sideline, not getting too many meters, but taking their time for patience. Up goes a little push pass to the side. Looking for the hammer from Asher. Resets back to the center. Happy to move it, but just a bit too quick for his receiver as we get a turnover. Fishwick capitalizing, moving it quickly. Gillette with the disc to Wang. Wang to Gentle.
The stack is very far away.
Is that them giving space for their handlers to do a weave?
Ooh, that defense was closing in fast and hard.
Thread the needle all the way in the end zone to Gillette.
So Fishwick, although they gave the disc up for their offensive line, they managed to get the disc back. And here we have the set, like you said, very far away, but then using that handler weave, that lovely inside flick shot here to set it up, and then just that wide space in the end zone to score. So Fishwick, a dirty hold, but a hold still. That will take it up to 10-7.
Fishwick coming out on offense again. On defense. Harvey with the pull.
So I feel like that was a missed opportunity for Kronk. They worked so hard to earn that opportunity to actually convert that break, but in the end, just unable to keep the disc in hand.
Slightly shorter pull from Harvey. Gives Kronk the advantage of having a bit less space for them to have to move through, but Kronk working through the small throws, small passes, but over the top to AUCDII. AUCDII taking his time, resetting it, moving it to that left-hand sideline. Back to Irish. Irish taking his time, looking for a reset, but it's not coming. Fishwick is tight on the defense. Risky over the top, but it pays off to Booth. Booth to AUCDII, who just toes it in, keeps it in. Back to Irish. Irish looking once again to AUCDII.
So again, the receiver's sitting very deep in the stack. The movement is mostly coming from the front of stack rather than from back.
To Booth. Booth to AUCDII. We've got 4 people putting in a solid shift today. Back to Booth. Back to Irish. AUCDII just gets it in.
And it's demonstrating some fantastic patience, Kronk. Irish to AUCDII in the end for the score.
Little celebration there from AUCDII to point to his hat. We'll watch that again. AUCDII passes it off to Booth. Booth looks upfield, doesn't see what he likes, passes it back to Irish, using the whole width of that field, who then Irish puts it up to AUCDII, who in that time has taken his lovely time to get to the stack and then offer a nice cut.
Just the classic dump set in the end zone, dump swing continuation.
Dump swing score.
Yep, for sure. They made it look really smooth in that passage of play. As we said, the couple of players in Booth, Irish, AUCDII, Maguire, all getting very involved in that play.
Mm-hmm.
So all holds so far in the second half. Kronk staying in touch, 8-10. So the game's certainly not over yet, although Fishwick have looked to be the stronger side, you know, a little bit more clean and a little bit more efficient on offense. But Kronk defense, having already had 2 opportunities to convert a break, they won't be disheartened. Hopefully they can bring it home and get another one.
Coming up with a lovely big pull from Kronk, getting past the end zone line, forcing Fishwick to have to work from a deep space in there. But Matthews Hunter replying with a big throw. Down he comes, Mo Baxter.
Fantastic work by Baxter just to get really good separation. Even lost his hat in the process to make sure he didn't lose vision, and there he collects his hat back, making sure to stay sun safe in bright and sunny Shepparton. As we see here, that forward momentum, so as we said, using or generate the movement from the backspace, getting to power position, forward momentum, using that power of rotation. There he developed plenty of separation just to say, hey, here's the space, throw it to me, I'll run onto it.
And Gibson there as well, just as a backup, saying, I trust you to get it, but if you don't, I'm right here, I'll be here for scraps. Fishwick really juxtaposing that quick offensive point with the longer point that Kronk put in just earlier to get their earlier score.
So mostly clean holds in this second half. Just the one dirty one by Fishwick where Kronk did earn that one break opportunity but unable to convert. So Fishwick still with the noses in front. It is 11-8 in day 1, game 1 of Australian Division 2 National Championships.
Fishwick probably looking to finish the game early if they can to maximise on break time between games. Kronk the role is to try to get a bit more pressure on them, see if they can keep their nose in the game, and if not, take the W.
I think this might be the first out of bounds pull.
It is, yeah, and the wind is picking up a tiny bit. Still not too hectic, but still coming from the top of your screen down towards the bottom of it, forcing that Frisbee out towards the bottom sideline. Taking a brick, taking it to the middle of the field, a bit further up from the end zone, giving them the advantage of a bit more space to throw from than the sideline. Moving it quickly to AUCDII on the sideline. Back, AUCDII looking for up the line to Irish, but doesn't quite get it. Moves it further down towards the close sideline, back to the center. Elmo back to Irish. Irish taking his time to slow the play down. Looking for an option, nothing quite coming, looking to reset. Close reset, and just a grab with the fingertips. to Booth. Close
So
mark.
Fishwick using a poach in the lane here just to deter any of those open undershots.
Contact called.
Pretty quickly accepted foul there. So we'll see if Fishwick persists with this poach in the lane to close down this under space.
It's working for them so far. To Booth. Booth has to lay out for that one and is able to just get fingers to it, keep it up, keep the possession. On the sideline now. Into the hands of Elmer.
Oliver Elmers again getting on the scoreboard. He's had an absolute stormer here already with 1 goal and 2 assists to his name, and plenty of chains also. As we see here, that lovely shot. See it evolving inside. Elmers opens up that space on the break side, and Booth obliges with some backup plays as well, ready to go. So we have Kronk keeping in touch here in the second half. Another clean hold. Wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of timeout called at some stage, maybe putting a little bit more strength on their D-line for Kronk, you know, trying to generate a turn, another opportunity to convert. Their offense have shown that they can maintain possession really well, so it is indeed a timeout called.
I was about to say, I believe we are in fact in a timeout at the moment, just taking a bit of a breather, figuring out what needs to happen.
So the two teams will take a breather, and we will also take a quick breath and be back with you after the timeout.
Let's go. Bring it in. Grab a shoulder.
Always on the move? You can keep up to date with ULTI.TV on all of our social media channels. Like, follow, subscribe, share us with a friend, or send us a message just to say hey. Thank you for supporting us in our mission to grow Ultimate everywhere.
Welcome back from the timeout, called by Kronk, just taking a breath, taking time to figure out what they need to do to be able to put in the last leg of this half. Coming out on defense from Kronk.
So I think we might have a bit of a power line on D here, as we were chatting about pre the half. I think Elmers and Booth here move from the O-line to the D-line, perhaps for some more offensive power. So Kronk here hoping to put all the eggs in this basket, generate a turn, and then convert.
Coming up from Nichols, big pull. Is it able to stay in?
Oh, just about a metre out of bounds. That's a heartbreaker.
But proving to show that that wind is starting to pick up slightly, which, like we said earlier, might play to Kronk's advantage, given they are the windier city. Canberra, a bit of a geographical bowl. Not much wind gets in there as a player from there.
And not necessarily a bad thing, you know. On the brick mark, it means you can set up your defense how you like. So it's not like you're having to rush and adjust because the offense have gone to start the play quickly.
Aldridge coming in from the brick mark. Puts an open undershot to Horvat. Horvat taking his time, looking for a reset. Throw goes up. Harvey underneath it, cleans up. Harvey keeps it moving to Maurice Baxter. Baxter takes it over to Seb Jordan. Jordan looking for the reset to Harvey. Harvey back to Jordan. Jordan back to Harvey, to Aldridge. Just knocking on heaven's door right now. Put an open side into Baxter. Baxter into the hands of Jordan, but maybe a bit lower than where he wanted it initially. Jordan doing a good job of getting down quickly. Body on the line.
As we see the replay. So Fishwick, as we've said before, they use the width really well. So just looking for that swing around, waiting for that completely open cutter. Plenty of separation here. Seb Jordan already is meters in front of his defender. The mark tries to poach off to help out on D, but not quick enough here.
Ends up with a bowling split, and they just go straight down the middle.
So unfortunately, Kronk's timeout, putting their power D-line on, not quite generating the advantage they had hoped. Fishwick good enough and clinical enough to score that as a clean offensive point. Have to say, Morris Baxter has really come alive in the second half. He's on the stats board with 1 goal and 2 assists. So Mo Baxter absolutely coming alive. Probably the caffeine has really kicked in, and this second half is absolutely his.
Now, just as a quick passing thought, what are your thoughts on a power line?
I think when it's the right place and the right time and the right people, right? You've got to have all three in the combination. Like, you know, Kronk have gone down 2 breaks already. Their D-line have had 1 opportunity in the first half and then 1 opportunity in the second. But I think, you know, the fact that it's the offensive side when they do get possession. So I think putting Tim Booth and Elmers across was a good move. And we have our 3rd consecutive pull out of bounds now.
I'm seeing a pattern. Kronk coming out on offense, using the brick, setting themselves up in the middle, having a bit more space in the field to move that disc. Taking their time to walk up, figuring out their patience, having a bit of a look at what Fishwick is doing in terms of defense as well, and moving quite actively.
Fishwick with the zone and an arrowhead here, I think forcing them to move side to side.
Back to Edie on the sideline, getting a couple meters forwards. Looking from Edie, looking to put it up along that sideline into the hands of Elmers the junior.
Edie to Elmers, I think we'll be calling that combo a fair bit in future, not just this game, but future years too. Both of those young guns absolutely firing in this game.
Now, I believe that that is the 3rd goal for Elmers.
That's right, Elmers is on goal number 3 and with 2 assists along to Boots. So Gabe Edie the other way, 2 goals and 3 assists. So the 2 of them absolutely rampant on the stats board here. Just lovely flow, and I think it's the way that they get separation. They always look like they're meters in front of their defender. So always nice with fresh legs on day 1 to get them going, and Kronk again staying in touch. Still down 2 breaks to Fishwick, 12-10.
I just walked off and I was like, oh wait, they're not still there.
Fishwick coming out on offense. Tim Booth with the pull.
So Tim Booth again on the D-line. He's played 3 points straight now. So he was pulled across for that D-line after the timeout, played his usual O, and then now back on D. So see if Booth can be a spark for the team.
Big pull stays in. We've broken the three-point curse. Moving it quickly, Fishwick keeping it up that far sideline to Harvey, who's in an open space. Gibson is streaming deep. He's got it.
Too easy for Fishwick. Just working up that side with apparent ease. Kronk defenders nowhere in sight. Smooth as you like there. As we see on the replay.
Matthews Hunter.
And working up that sideline. You can see the defense just unable to cover that space quick enough. Gibson with the easy score in the end.
It looks like it's game. 13-10 to Fishwick. Kronk holding on as long as they can, trying to put in a shift. But Fishwick just a bit more clinical this morning. Hopefully as the day goes on, a bit more wind and a bit more caffeine hits the body, Kronk can come back into the game and be as competitive as they were this morning, if not more, and come out with a couple W's.
For sure. So as we have a look at the stats here, as we said, Fishwick is able to get 2 breaks up in the first half. Kronk never able to get those ones back, even though they generated a couple of opportunities. Clean holds, Fishwick just a little bit more classy, a little bit more clinical and efficient on offense. As you say, the conditions very favourable for some beautiful Frisbee. Make sure you stay tuned because we have another Opens game in the pool play at 10 o'clock, Sublime vs Outbreak Apocalypse. Make sure you tune back in with us then. See you shortly.
See you shortly.
ULTI.TV.